Welcome to the Kaur Show, and today we have episode 10. This is very exciting episode today because we have reached that milestone of two digits in the episode list. And so far, we have been discussing a wide variety of topics, including family violence, mental health. We have been talking about diet. We have talked about music, and that was again relating to the mental health. Today, we got a very special guest from our own country, Australia, and much renowned rapper. We will just let you guess as well. Before that, I just bring on my co host, Penji Ranjit Ko, and myself, Gurinder Ko. Penji, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. How are you, Penji?
I'm doing well and hope same for you.
Great, thank you.
That's great. Are you excited today?
I'm very excited, yes.
I think we get excited every week with our guests. We have such a variety of guests who have got so many skills and so much they have to give back to the community, so much to learn from. I really get excited because I feel there is something new to learn today. And for today's guest, I'm really excited. So maybe I'll let you introduce our today's guest and as we bring him on the screen as well.
Yeah. So today we will be talking about beating stereotypes through music. And our guest today is Sukhdeep Singh, who is better known as LFresh the Lion. He's an Australian hip-hop artist from Sydney. And here he is. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. How are you, Ji?
I'm doing good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
No, it's really great to have you here. So I love how your music covers like a range of issues with social justice and racism and prejudice. I think that's really good. And you also put in there like your love and respect for the roots of Sikhs back in Punjab as well. So I think that's really awesome. So we're really happy that you're here today. Welcome to the show. And could you please tell us and the audience as well about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, as you mentioned in the introduction, I'm a musician and artist from Sydney, Australia. I've been working professionally as an artist for the past 3 or 4 years. It's been 3 years now, I would say, like full time as an artist. Before that, I'd been working part time in the community sector, like just working with a variety of different communities, like refugee migrant communities, mostly in Western Sydney and also a little bit in Melbourne. I also went to university and did a law degree and an arts degree. So, that's a bit of just kind of like my background. I've always lived in Sydney for the most part. I spent a couple of years in Melbourne, but I was born and raised in Sydney. And yeah, it's pretty much it. Music has been a passion and a hobby for a lot of my life, and then I'm grateful to be able to use it as my career, and to be able to do what I love as a career.
Awesome. I read somewhere you're Punjabi in the home and English in the playground. So also tell us something about like how Sukhdeep Singh Bhogal is also known as LFresh the Lion. Where does that come from?
Yeah, so it comes from the hip hop tradition. So the style of music that I make in hip hop, a lot of artists I saw, had when they started releasing music, they had the tradition of giving themselves their own name. And the idea of the name was to create a character and also to let the audience know a little bit about yourself through the name and through the character that you portray. And it's meant to, really exemplify characteristics about your personality that you want to portray. And so, LFresh the Lion was a journey. So firstly, the name I had at the very beginning was Fresh MC. So the Fresh came from a friend of mine in high school who I was sharing my music with. One of the compliments he gave me was, "That's fresh, that's fresh." So I took that, and when I, started uploading my music online, I took that and I made my name Fresh MC because I wanted just to utilize what was given to me. But I also, gave it my own definition. So Fresh is an acronym. It stands for Forever Rising, Exceeding Sudden Hardships, because the mindset that I had, especially as a teenager, was very much like this this mentality of I'm going to overcome anything life throws my way. You know, I just wanted to have, like, I always try to have a positive mindset. So I wanted to have that as my definition for fresh. You know, for me, something is fresh is when, you know, like you're able to, despite the odds, overcome, you know, whatever challenges in your way. So it became Fresh MC, and then I made it LFresh later because I wanted to include lion in the name, and the L was a subtle way to do that. And lion, obviously coming from a Sikhi background, you know, Singh being lion. So I put that in there. And then I realized at some point a few years later that the L was too subtle, you know, like people were not going to be able to, I have to tell them all the time that it was that's what the L stood for, is for lion. So I put it again at the end, so it's LFresh the Lion. So technically, if you were to do the long form of the name, it's Lion Fresh the Lion. But you know, the LFresh the Lion looks cool, sounds cool, so I kept it.
I remember someone asking me, "What's the L at the beginning for?" And I was like, "I'm sure it means sing, fresh, sing." And they were like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's quite unique." So no, this is cool. I like how the fresh has a really good as well. Like I like the heart where you can rap with that as well. So can you tell us, who were your music influences?
You know, I think my number one music influence from the very beginning, like if I was talking about being introduced to music, it'd have to be my dad. So my dad, you know, obviously we had kirtan in the house a lot. And my dad introduced me to the tabla like very, very young. So like there's a picture of me. I probably don't even think I could walk, but there's a picture of me with the tabla, you know, at that age, you know, and dad introduced me to, you know, being able to play tabla. And so, you know, that was a big, you know, part of, I think, my journey into music, getting a sense of rhythm, getting a sense of being able to play to a beat and keep a beat, and then, you know, freestyle your own rhythms. I think that was important to get that foundation. And then when it came to, you know, English music, it wasn't until like school, when I was in primary school and then high school, my friends at school would share, you know, the songs they were listening to, and there was all different types of genres and stuff like that. But you know, when they introduced me to hip hop in like year 7, year 8, I just fell in love with the genre because of just how immediate it is, how direct it is, and just, you know, how great it is as a storytelling style of music. You can say a lot in a very short space of time. So, you know, I really appreciated that part of it. So I was listening to a lot of music, like a lot of hip hop music. I would listen to anything from Tupac to Public Enemy, from like Lauryn Hill to Common. Like I was just listening to a lot of music. And even now, like I think I listen to less hip hop music now because I feel like I just am in the mindset of making more. So like I'll listen to stuff here and there, but I try to just be making and creating more than just always listening.
So are you the first Sikh hip hop artist?
I don't think I am. I actually think there was a group. I've tried to track back, and I think there was a group in the UK in the 80s. I want to say the 80s. And I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I think it was 2 or 3 Sardars who were like rapping. I'm just trying to think if they were from Birmingham or from London, but I wonder if I can just do a quick Google search and find them.
Birmingham would sound about right.
Yeah. I want to say it was the 80s because, you know, I'm pretty sure they you know were the first, and I can't remember. Yeah, I should know the name, but I just can't remember off the top of my head. I definitely wasn't the first. I felt like I was the first, maybe in Australia, and you know, it felt like there weren't that many other people in music from the Sikh community like that I knew around. Like I didn't even know who was in the local rap scene. Like I even thought, just, you know, more broadly speaking, I thought I was the only one in my local area doing it. And how little did I know how wrong I was. You know, later on I met those who had been doing it a long time. So, you know, yeah, there's been many before. I think a few more before me who were making hip hop music, and I'm pretty sure it was that group in the UK. I just got to find the name.
Awesome. I'm just gonna take you back to your like childhood and being raised as a kid, you know, in Australia and having migrant parents. How do you connect with Punjabi language?
So, you know, Punjabi was the first language spoken in the house, you know. It was the first language that I learnt. So, you know, it's really important to have it in the house. You know, unfortunately, in growing up, you know, like I lost, you know, the ability to speak Punjabi fluently when I was older, you know, like as I got older, I would say probably in my teenage years, maybe even before then, like I lost the ability to be able to speak Punjabi fluently. And I think that was a combination of, you know, just wanting to you know, fit in and whatnot, the pressures of living in the West and living in Australia where they don't really celebrate, you know, people being able to speak their own languages, especially, you know, being from, you know, a South Asian background. So it wasn't really seen as cool, and I bought into that pressure. So, you know, I take ownership over the fact that I let it go. But you know, since then, I've been trying my best to relearn and re-engage with the language. And, you know, most recently just started writing songs in Punjabi as well. I know a lot of people have been asking that for a lot of years, like, when are you going to put something out in Punjabi? When are you going to put something out in Punjabi? And I just didn't have the confidence to be able to do it. And one of my cousins actually in India, you know, when I was in India a couple of years ago, you know, I was talking to him about it because he was encouraging me as well. And he said to me, one of the things I said as to why I haven't done it yet is I said, you know, because when I speak Punjabi, I have an Australian accent. Like there's an accent, you know, like people who can speak Punjabi fluently who are from India, they can tell straight away that I must, like, you know, I must be from somewhere else, you know? And so that was a bit of a confidence issue for me where I wasn't as confident because like my Punjabi is like Australian style Punjabi, I would say, you know? And my cousin said, no, that's why. He was like, yeah, Western. And he was like, that's why you should make songs in Punjabi because like that's a point of difference. And, you know, it shows people that, you know, Punjabi is you know, is a global language. It shows people that Punjabi is cool, you know, and that you will stand out that way. So it gave me, you know, I thought about that a lot, and it gave me confidence to at least start to think about it more seriously. And, you know, most recently I've been trying to write songs in Punjabi. So the first one I have actually coming out tomorrow is a remix of the song Alchemy from my newest album, Southwest. And I did that song with two other artists from India who were on the MTV Hustle TV show, and they both rap in Hindi. That's EPR and Shloka. So they both rap in Hindi. EPR is from Kolkata and Shloka is from Bihar. And then, you know, myself, I rap in English and Punjabi in the song. So that's, yeah, it'll be the first time where I'm like trying to, you know, significantly rap in Punjabi.
Wow.
I totally understand.
Looking forward.
Yeah, I totally understand how you mean about the Punjabi because Benji speaks amazing Punjabi and mine's like bit Ingrezi, like, you know, Western as we like to put it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this is so. Do you get like someone to translate your words in Punjabi so that you can speak it like properly?
Well, I've been trying to, you know, like because my Punjabi is like I feel it's so basic. Like my only exposure to reading Punjabi these days is, you know, Gurubani, and then like I don't read Punjabi, you know, newspapers and stuff like that, you know. So I probably should. That's good practice. And I probably should listen to more Punjabi radio. So you know that I just need more exposure. So otherwise, it's just me speaking it in the house, you know, and to my parents, and sometimes to you know very rarely to Punjabi friends. We speaking, you know, in Punjabi here, so you know I don't really get a lot of practice. But so I kind of feel like when I started writing initially in Punjabi, it was very basic, you know, like very basic. But the more I started writing in it, the more like the more it felt like it was coming back to me, because I, you know, like I said before, I was fluent in Punjabi as a kid. So I feel like the Punjabi is deep within me. It's just like locked behind a few doors, and I just need to get the keys to unlock it, to let that fluency loose or to let that fluency free. And so I feel like the more I use it, the more it's coming back and the more I'm learning. And so I haven't been getting people to translate. What I do is like, I'll think of what I want to say. And sometimes I am able to say the line already in Punjabi. Like sometimes I'll think of a phrase in Punjabi and I'm like, that sounds really cool. And I like the meaning, and then I'll write it down and then I'll try to match it. The hardest part is like, because my vocabulary isn't massive yet, is like coming up with the rhyming words, so that's the hardest part. But I'm getting there slowly. I think the more I practice, the more I put effort into it. It's just like anything, the more effort you put into it, the more you're gonna see the results. You just need to put more effort into it. But yeah, I've been using a mix of Punjabi and Google Translate. That's been helping me out.
That's awesome. I have a professor here nearby that I go to for my books, because when I need to translate them in Punjabi, my Punjabi will be like a one style, but the way it actually is written for children to understand is totally different. So I'm so glad I have someone. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to just translate and start writing. So this is really good effort, definitely, especially when we don't speak it at home. No, it's really good. So how, with your family and stuff, so when you've started the hip hop and the rapping, what did your family think about this?
I started, so to contextualize it, I started making music in high school, right? And it was just a hobby. And so, my parents kind of didn't see it as getting in the way of school and study and stuff like that. So, there was no discouragement towards me making music. If anything, I feel like it really helped me with school. Like I remember in year 12, for example, in my HSC exam, for some of my subjects, in order to remember what my essays were about, I wrote a song about like what my essay was, so that when I got into the exam, all I had to do was remember the key facts in the song by reciting it in my head, and then I could, so I feel like it helped me a lot, actually. And same through university, I feel like it helped me stay focused. After I finished university, I wanted to pursue music a bit more seriously. And at that point, it was definitely a challenging conversation, because like my family and families around haven't seen somebody make a profession in that way before, in music. And so it was conversations with my family quite openly, in order to try to get us to mutually understand the path I was taking, because it was a new path. And I kind of think about it as, like as great as it would be to say, like, there was 100% support from a career standpoint straight away. Like I have to acknowledge that it's my responsibility to also walk that journey with my family. If I've said that I want to walk this path, that, okay, well, they haven't seen this path before. Not many people have seen this path before. So like, I need to, one, educate myself about what this path looks like, and in order to better understand it and make it a sustainable career that is, an honest and respectable living, that I need to find ways to articulate that to my family so they can understand and appreciate that also. And so, I have to be very grateful, because like my family have walked that journey with me, and, have seen the results over the many, many years. And, they've been supportive, and, especially when there's been milestone moments. So, it's been a journey. I won't say it has come without challenges, but, like I think trying to be a pioneer in, or any field you're trying to forge new ground,
yeah, looks like some connection problems. I think it's breaking up.
Yeah, definitely breaking up.
A new business, or whatever. It's essentially what I'm doing at the end of the day is establishing a new business. So
yeah, looks like a bit of a connection problem. Might let him fix that.
Yeah.
But how cool is that, Penji? Do you have any idea about rapper? Have you ever thought about it, or
No,
has that
I've
been
heard of
any
his
time your passion?
music.
You used to listen it.
No, I've heard of his
Do you find
music.
that very energetic?
I think when you listen to Dharmic and when you come into Sikhi and Dharmic's what you listen to, and then you get into really Sikhi and then you get into the Geet, then I think I must have missed hip hop somewhere. But his music is mainly in English. So now when he brings in the Punjabi, I think it'll be really good. I think it'll be for a wider audience as well.
But don't you think like we do have so many already like Punjabis who might be doing like hip hops in Punjabi language, but this is like unique where he's using. I know there is a bit of Punjabi touch, but his turban like maybe stands him out and give it the opportunity to like on a broader platform like a multicultural stage and mixing up with others. So
No, I
I think
this
that's
is good. This is really
yes.
good. Like this is a completely different type of music that we've not listened to before or heard of, or not that I have anyway. So this would be good for especially like the Australians because he is a proper idol over there for the young youth, and they look up to him. So now when he speaks Punjabi, they may think or be inclined that they should also, do whatever they're doing in Punjabi too. And then maybe we should have a show in Punjabi. You'll be running the show, and I'll be like, Hanji.
Yes, so he's connecting. So let's bring him in. I hope this time it will be better.
Yeah.
Everyone like so this is evening time, or you can say a kind of a night time in Australia. So all people are like on their devices, and everyone is busy. And probably that's why there are some connection problems as well. But welcome back. I hope you can hear us properly. Looks like there's still some lagging in the internet today.
So can you hear us, Sukhdeep? He's frozen now.
He's frozen.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it'd be good to when he comes back on and he's got his connection sorted, hopefully. It'd be good to know, like, whether the Sikh community also supported him, like obviously with his family. Oh, hey, you
welcome back.
Sorry, my internet like cut out. I had, to be honest, that's the first time that has happened in this space. But anyway, I'm back.
That's okay. So your family's been supportive of you because you've like let them know, and you've also educated yourself with this beforehand, which is really, really good. How has it been with the Sikh community? Have they supported you as well?
I think for the most part, yes. And one example I have to share is the music video for my song "Survive" was shot at Reesby Gurdwara Sahib in Sydney, and the Gurdwara was so like supportive, and the community and the sangat there was so supportive in the shooting of that music video, and it's one of my favorite music videos. A friend of mine directed it and edited it. His name's Varna Siang, and he's from a Cambodian background. And he didn't have much knowledge of the Sikh community before shooting that video. I mean, we've been friends and stuff like that, and we've only just had conversations about work and music and art. So for him to shoot that video and to go to the Gurdwara Sahib, like he was welcomed and they made him feel really comfortable, and that was just great access and an opportunity for him to be able to be and document the community in that way. So, that video wouldn't have happened without the support of the local sangat there and the local community. So, it's one of my favorite videos and one of the most, I think, well-received videos as well. So, the community here in Australia has really embraced it, and even abroad, like I got to perform at Sikh Lens Film Festival in LA. and they were really cool. And I performed in the UK as well, and I've done stuff with some of the community in the UK as well. So yeah, no, the community's been really supportive.
That's really great. It's always great to hear when your own community is always on the forefront to support. That's a big motivation, I can say. Just besides your hip hop music, and I know that you're very active in supporting like human rights issues and very vocal on that, and that reflects from your lyrics of the music and that you sing on the stage as well. And you've been involved with, I know, with refugees and a lot of that kind of work. So please tell us something about that too. Looks like.
And I think your connection went as well.
No, I'm there.
I think it's
Looks
you, the Australians.
Ah, really?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, looks like there is a big connection problem.
He's frozen.
Yes.
So, yeah,
so those who are watching
heard.
us, yes, I might. Taji, did you hear my question? Or should I repeat
it?
No,
can you repeat it, please?
No, that's fine. I was talking about that. We've seen that you've been very active in the human rights, very vocal on those topics as well. And we have seen that you have been working with refugees as well. So if you could tell us something about that part of your life too.
Yeah, like I think I'm very much inspired by Sikh Itihas, like our history, and it's a very, we've been left a very great legacy when it comes to standing up for human rights, and I'm inspired by so much of our history. So I feel like it's the duty of every Sikh to play a role, to try to be a blessing to the world around them as best as they can, and to do seva in that way. So I've tried my best. And I feel like I can do more. I feel like I'm not doing enough, but just speaking on that inspiration, I believe it's today, the 30th of August, from this period, or this date for the next week, it's the celebration of Shaheed Bhai Jaswant Singh Kalra. It's Kalra week, and his family are commemorating his legacy throughout the week. So it's again one of my greatest inspirations. Who stood up for human rights in such an inspiring way, in such a powerful way. So I always just look back to the history and the work that people in our community are doing around the world, and try my best to just be inspired and try to contribute in some way also.
That's really very inspiring. And even today is a great day which marks the Shahidi of Bhai Anok Singh, who is actually the Bhai Taru Singh of the 20th century. And we just had a live show just before this one about, and it was really very, very, very inspiring. A lot to learn from the history, and get inspired. Yes. So you've heard that as a Sikh, it does motivates you in doing all these and being vocal in the human rights area as well. When we compare to the Sikhs who are born and grown up in Punjab, and the kind of music they are going towards, why do you think this is happening? There's so much like a talent in our Punjabi singers. What's the difference? Like, you've been born in Australia and you have your roots, deeply planted in Sikh culture, and you have so much motivation from your shaheeds and all these human rights issues. Why do you think our youth from the Punjab is not thinking that way?
I think there's youth there definitely thinking that way. I think, what we see in the West is, what makes it to the top of music, and in every music scene around the world, usually what makes it to the top is what is in the pop scene. And what is in the pop scene is usually very, commercialized. It's about, spending money, making money. It's about being flashy, stereotypical and degrading views towards women, or, stereotypical masculinity kind of roles. Like, that tends to be just around the world what is, the trending music, and Punjab is no different. I think, those are the songs that are, getting a lot of views, and people are putting a lot of money into. And unfortunately, that's just just the way the scene is, that's driven, an industry that is driven by money. That's the way it goes. So, I think there's many youth in Punjab who are very active and who are very much aware of the same things that we're talking about, and who are very driven. It's, and who are wanting to make, content that is inspiring in that way. I think there are challenges there as well, like in terms of, we can talk about certain things in the West and be very politically active, but, those in Punjab who do the same have to, bear the brunt of police brutality and state violence against them, So there's a different cost to be paid for doing that. That's not to say that our community is scared. I don't think there's a community I don't think the community fears anybody but Guru Sahib, so like, or Waheguru Maharaj. So like, but there's a different cost to be paid. So I think there's activity there for sure. There's the will and the drive there. It's where we're just talking about operating in a music scene that promotes, very commercial content that, is very, very much watered down content and, is pop music. So yeah, I think it's going to take some artists to break the mold, who show another way, to inspire the next generation of singers to want to also take that way, take that path. I think of, Guru Gobind Singh Ji's time, when he had his Darbar open to poets from across the region to come in and to invite them to create inspirational poems and songs and stuff like that. And, I think when there's leadership who can inspire people to do that way and reward people for doing that, we will see more of that. So currently the way that we see that content and the way that content is rewarded is monetarily, and it's through big platforms and commercial music. So it's going to take a couple of artists to really break that mold and make music that, we're talking about, the type of music we're talking about here, to really inspire others. And I'm hopeful because in India, hip hop music is growing very fast. And outside of Punjab, the hip hop music that is getting a lot of love and the music that is seeing a lot of success is the hip hop music that comes from those who have been looked down upon, those who have been, who haven't had a voice before, those from the slums who are talking about real issues. Those are the ones who are seeing the most success at the moment. So, hopefully we will see the same in Punjab in the near future, and see that that type of music, which I think has always been there, but see it be rewarded.
Awesome, thank you. How does your music cover issues like including racism, prejudice? Like, so is this the type of experience that you go through, and that's how you can talk about it, or is it just you research through other people's experience? Because you cover these issues, don't you?
Yeah, I try to cover them. I mean, it comes from wanting to, address injustice. I think, again, we just spoke about where that drive comes from, but it comes from lived experience, and also just the experience of, seeing the systems in play. I think it's important for us to address them and to be conscious of them and how they impact not just us and us as individuals or our communities, but also the communities in the countries that we live in, because we have a responsibility to the communities that we are in as well. That's our seva, I think, to be a blessing in the communities that we are in, and to use the values of Sikhi that, and what Sikhi teaches us to be a positive impact on the societies that we live in as well. So, I just see that part of my role in music is to address those power structures that, impact people in such negative ways. And racism is one of those things. Hate is one of those things. And it's important to address them, I think, and not just be silent.
Yeah. And when we talk about racism, have you personally felt that racism, for yourself? Like, have you faced that?
Yes, most definitely. And, throughout the course of my life, I would say that, the reason why I let Punjabi go, for example, in the beginning was a side effect of systemic racism. It's part of that the structure within Australia to impact people in that way. So, you know, that I would say that was a byproduct of racism, for example, and that to me is the most harmful, because you know, the racism in your face, the verbal abuse, and all that sort of stuff, like, that is what it is. Like, you know, it's a moment, it's a traumatic experience, yes, but you know, you see it, it's there and it's gone, and then you find ways to overcome. But you know, the impact of systemic racism in the ways that it can impact, you know, the mindset of generations of people. For example, you know, like growing up, it wasn't just me who was feeling like, you know, who felt like you had to blend in here. You know, like there's that mindset in our communities, and often in many migrant communities, that you have to blend in, you have to adapt to the society that you're in. And that's cool to an extent, you know, like, yeah, you have to learn English, you have to, you know, learn the values here, you have to follow the law, all that sort of, like, I understand, like, okay, but there's a toxic nature about the intentions around wanting people to blend in this country, that has the impact of people wanting to abandon their culture, abandon their, you know, and compromise on their own you know, way of life in order to do that, to blend in successfully. So the impact of that is, for example, people losing language, young people wanting to, you know, compromise their identity, and not to judge anybody's journeys, you know, because when I was younger, I also trimmed my dadi, you know, and I learned from that experience, and have, you know, since grown to live with, you know, regretting that decision, you know. But everyone has that journey, you know, their own journey. But you know, that's the byproduct of living in a country where the demand to blend in is not just, we accept you and respect you as you are, and we welcome you, and we want you to also be able to have equal opportunities here. Excuse me. But it's, do it our way, not your way. You know, it's a very different mindset. So that to me is like is a more you know, a more dangerous form of racism, because the impact is, yeah, people losing connection to their Sikhi, losing connection to their language, losing connection to their culture, whereby the next generations after them won't have the same connections to their culture. You know, eventually we will lose it. So, you know, I think those experiences of racism are the ones that are the most challenging, and the ones that we should, I think, be having conversations about, so that we can ensure that in our communities, the generations to come, you know, value you know, our culture, and value Sikhi in a way that is you know, really positive, you know, in a real positive way, in a meaningful way.
That's awesome. So I just had a question around, again, Punjab music and here as well, and it's related to racism. You know, there is so much jatwad, like in every single song of Punjab, whether it's rap song or whether it's just I don't know what other styles we call it. Has any company or any you know, music company approached you ever just to sing any song of that type? Or did you feel like
No, I haven't had that. But I know, I've heard stories, you know, like,
yeah.
And I remember because, you know, in recent times I've been going to India with my team with the view of wanting to create music to release over there. And I remember very clearly having conversations with, you know, my dad, for example, about, you know, being cautious, because you know, there are stories of those who try to influence artists and what they say in order to have a negative influence on the community, and you know, being, you know, very clear about having this conversation, because we need to be, you know, aware of what we are willing to do and what we're not willing to do, you know. And I remember early on in my career, like I sat down and I thought to myself, okay, well, what are the things that I'm willing to talk about? What are the things I'm not willing to talk about? And also, who are the people and the companies that I'm willing to work with, and which ones are the ones I'm not willing to work with? Because in life, no matter what industry you're in, no matter what field you're in, there is some level of compromise. You have to compromise at some point. So I sat down and tried to work on trying to understand where my lines were. so that should I be presented a situation in the future, I've already thought about that and I know which ones not to cross. So, that fortunately, I haven't been approached by people in the industry in India when we've gone there in that way yet. And should I get approached in that way, I'm very clear as to what I will and what I won't do. Like, even for me, if I'm listening to Punjabi music playlist just to learn some language or to hear what the songs are like or whatever, as soon as I hear something that mentions caste, I change the song. That song gets kicked off the playlist, like, next.
No, that's really good that you've set boundaries of what you and how far you'll go with this. That's absolutely awesome. And I think that the fact that you're doing hip hop and you're putting the racism and prejudice to make that alert and aware for people is really good too. Like, I think that's really important for the next generation. And then they can see you as a model and then see you like, well, we can do this too because he can do this. So you make it look quite easy, actually. So how did you know hip hop was for you?
Well, it just felt right. Like it just, I just became obsessed with wanting to learn to make hip hop music. And, that was it. Once I started, I just couldn't stop, and there was no goal. Like, I didn't have the goal of like, oh, I want to be famous and like, I want to, be a big star and stuff like that. I just really, really loved it. The aspirations of wanting to turn it into a career, came later when I thought, okay, well, hang on, maybe there is a way to turn this into a living so that I can do what I love full time, but before that, it was just, I love it so much. And even now, like, when I'm in the studio recording, like, I'm just so happy, when I'm on stage performing, I'm just so happy. It's a sense of joy and a sense of peace that comes from being able to do what you love. So yeah, I don't know. I just really enjoyed it. And when you find something that you enjoy and you really enjoy it over a long period of time, I think, you should hold on to it, even if it's just a hobby and it's just a way for you to express yourself. I think, you should always, hold on to that. It's a blessing.
We've got a question for you asking, who is your favorite?
I have a lot of favorite artists. I think there's my two favorite. One is an artist from a band called The Roots, and he's a rapper by the name of Black Thought. The other person who is my favorite is another artist. His name is J. Cole, and both of them are from the US, and both of them, Black Thought has been around for a long, long, long time, and to me, he's the best like rapper of all time. Like, the way he has over decades put out music that is so politically conscious, but also so like amazing, so perfect. Like, it's just technically it's so good, and he just is, to me, he's one of the greats. And then the other person, J. Cole, who's a more modern contemporary artist, again, whose music I think stands for something. It means something, and he's always trying to get his listeners to think. Both of those artists, I think, they're two of my favorites.
Thanks. We've also got from Binder Dylan. Is it easy to learn?
I don't think anything is easy to learn. I think actually learning something is hard at the beginning. It's difficult at the beginning. It's just like, and music is one of those things. Like, if you're learning an instrument, for example, it's a struggle for the first couple of months. But once you get going and you get into a bit of a flow and a bit of a routine, I wouldn't say it's hard. I'd say it's challenging. But it's when you enjoy it, when you find something that you're passionate about and you love, like, it's not the difficulty doesn't stop you. Like, whether it's easy or whether it's hard is not it's of no consequence, because you just love it, you enjoy it, and you will just persist through the challenge. So I wouldn't say it's easy to learn. I would say it's there's a variety of challenges. In terms of just learning the basics of rap, I would say it's easy. Like, if you can talk and you can talk to a rhythm, then you're rapping. pretty much. So, the basics are not hard. I do workshops on the side every now and then as well. And one of those workshops sometimes is like teaching the basics and getting people to write a rap in like a 1 hour workshop. It's not hard, but to do it well is hard. And that's the journey.
Awesome. And so when you go to different countries and you're doing albums with different cultures and you're always like in a multicultural environment, what sort of questions you get asked about your turban and anything positives that comes out of that conversation?
Most people don't ask straight away. Like in the music, it's funny because like when you work with other artists and producers, it can be a very deep process because like in order to work with somebody, you have to get along with them. There has to be chemistry. And so usually in a studio session, you spend the first, part of the session just talking to each other, like getting to know each other and connecting. And, we should talk about life. You talk about a variety of different things, your inspirations, and wherever the conversation goes, it's just, and so every conversation is different. Sometimes the conversation becomes about, your Sikhi and your way of life and the culture and all that sort of stuff, experiences, whatever it might be. But a lot of the times it doesn't, like that. I feel like that conversation comes later, and it's usually positive. Like musicians and artists, the ones that I've worked with anyway, tend to be deep thinkers, and they respect, they respect the whenever I've spoken about Sikhi, they really respect it, because they usually haven't heard much before, or if what they have heard is very, minimal stuff. So it tends to be really good conversations.
Yeah.
So with regards to respect, what's it like being an ambassador of the Street University, where you work as a mentor, I think a coordinator of Australia's largest youth drop-in centre? So what's that like?
Yeah, that was like, what are we now, 2020? That was maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And
oh wow.
I don't do stuff with them anymore. It's grown and it's become much more than just one youth centre. It's become multiple across Sydney, and there's one in Canberra, I think, and there's some in Queensland. So there's quite a few, and they all do different things. But the principle of the place was that the community that it's in, that community owns and shapes the space, and I really like that concept. Like that it's owned and run by the community that it's trying to serve. And we used hip hop to because hip hop in Western Sydney and Southwest Sydney is a big influence. So yeah, it was cool. It was cool to see that kind of that space grow, and it's influenced so many different artists, and so many young artists from Western Sydney have gone and recorded in the street universities and have launched their careers from there, and it's pretty cool.
A question from the audience. So when will you next do a tour in London, where you will visit me in England as well, of course?
Yeah, I would love to do a tour in London. We have to, the world has to obviously get through a pandemic and COVID and whatnot. But might I just get back out to the UK? I would love to go and perform there in the future.
I know, so pandemic has affected everyone. It's just the new normal that we are living in. Just talking about the government in Australia and how they are supporting, different people, like different professions. And I'm sure art is definitely a priority for them. So how is the Australian government supporting your industry at the moment?
They've actually, they've been really slow to help the art sector, actually. And it's arts is often thought of last. And COVID has really impacted the music scene, especially. The arts world has just been smashed. But music, and especially live music, I think is going to take a long, long time to recover, because it's dependent upon being in public space. And so often in the arts sector, because it's a whole bunch of small businesses, and a lot of small businesses structured in different ways. It's hard to put put it into a box, and so that way, in that sense, it when the Australian government announced, JobKeeper and all the different packages to really kind of help people through COVID, it actually, a lot of artists and people in the arts and music sector were not able to be supported by those initiatives. So it took them a long time to announce an arts package, and the arts package still to this day, like none of that money that they have committed has flown into the hands of anybody in the industry. So the music industry has been quite vocal about the need for support, and not just support now, but long-term support in ways that that thinks about the music industry as a actual meaningful, viable sector that deserves investment, because it is a billion dollar industry. It does contribute a lot to the economy, but also it's a space that gives so much energy to people and so much hope to people. Like, if you think about what is helping people get through COVID, it's a lot of entertainment and arts, TV screens, movies, film, music, radio, a lot of art is getting people through COVID, and bringing them comfort. So it's actually been a challenging time for the music industry and for the art sector, and there's constant conversations between music lobbying organizations and groups to get the government to be a bit more urgent and be a bit more understanding of the very particular nature of the art sectors.
Yeah. And you did mention in the beginning that your new project, your new album Alchemy, is coming out. So how long is that we can wait for?
Yeah, so I did release a whole new album about a month ago now, and that album is called Southwest, so representing Southwest Sydney, and that's
I saw
been
your T-shirt with a Southwest.
Yeah. So that has been out for a month now, and people can find that on YouTube or Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever they stream music. The song, there's a song coming out tomorrow which is called Alchemy Remix, and that's a new song. So that'll be tomorrow on like YouTube and Instagram and stuff like that. So people can, and also Spotify, Apple Music, so people can find that tomorrow.
Yeah, sure. So next year there is a 400th century coming up for Guru Tegh Bahadur's Prakash Purab. So it will be, I think that Guru Tegh Bahadur ji was kind of stood for human rights for all these other religions. It will be great if you, by next year, there's something coming up from you as a tribute. So I think we'll look forward if there is something like that.
Guru Sahibs are so great. It's how hard is it for it's so difficult to try to put anything in words about Guru Sahib, because they're just too great. So it's the biggest challenge of all.
Yeah, we had a funny comment here saying, have you ever thought to do a rap on COVID-19? Keep up on your hygiene, dress up like it's Halloween. Something like that. That's from New Zealand.
Yeah. Actually, I did because when COVID started, there was like all these rap challenges. Like people were doing these hashtag challenges on social media just to stay entertained. So I did a couple where I mentioned COVID. If you go on my Instagram and look back, maybe to March and April, you might find some.
Awesome. With regards to some challenges, have you ever, I know it's like a strange question, but have you ever thought about considering rapping Gurubani for the younger children? Is that something you would ever consider doing?
No, I wouldn't do it, because it's Gurubani, I have so much respect for Gurubani, like, and I just it's Guru's Bani, like I just wouldn't want to taint it in any way with what I bring to it, because I'm far from perfect. I'm far from being able to do anything I could, I don't think I could do it, and I don't think it would be the right thing for me to do. I think Gurubani and it set to rag, and I think encouraging people to learn rag kirtan and to be able to sing Gurubani in that way, the way the Guru's intended, I think is the greatest of musical journeys, and it's something that I have so much love and respect for, and I'm also asking for the blessings to be able to be on that journey as well, and that's, I think, the most valuable music journey.
Awesome.
Yeah. So just cautious of the time, we've got for just a couple of minutes to go. Just for the new generation who might be interested in going into the rap and music as well, any message like how they can, if they have to get started, should they take it as a full-time career, or should they just take it as a passion?
Yeah.
Any piece of advice from your side?
Yeah, I wouldn't say, I think if from the very beginning, if the mindset is I want to make a career out of this, I think that might not be the right intention to begin with. Like, I think, if you want to do something that you love and you're passionate about, then do it because you enjoy it, because you love it, because it brings you joy, and because through it you can spread joy to others, and do it for the right reasons, and if it's a hobby to begin with, I think that's perfectly fine. It's a big risk to move it into a full-time career space, and that's not a decision to take lightly. I think it should be really well thought about. It should be planned, and it should only be taken when you can actually make that happen, and not put the pressure on yourself to live and be forced to live on your passion, because I've seen so many musicians who talk about having to do gigs that they hate doing just to get paid, like they have to play guitar at this venue or that venue or whatever, and they hate doing it, but they have to do it to get paid. And the last thing that you want to do is be in a position of doing things that you don't want to do in order to get paid, and especially doing it with your passion, because at that point then you lose the passion for it, you lose the love for it. So I would say if you love something and you enjoy it, then do it as a hobby and pursue it and start to build it, test your market, just like any other business idea. Test it, see if it's viable, keep pursuing, keep going, stay consistent, always try to get better. And if it's when the timing's right, then you can transition into full time. That's, I think, the most responsible way to go about it. And it takes a long time. Nothing happens overnight. So think about it and take the right steps to do it.
Okay, another courageous question. So with the viewers that haven't heard your type of music, hip hop, did you want to do a few lines now?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can do I'll do the last verse of the Alchemy song, the original Alchemy song, and this song I wrote because alchemy is the process of turning any kind of base metal into gold. And my whole thing about the song was like, if you have a positive mindset, then what you put in your mind, whatever you put in your mind, you can turn that into gold, and you can create good out of it. So I wanted to explore that idea. And so the third verse in Alchemy is about that positive mindset. It goes like this: you could be the sum of your mistakes or the product of your wins. Crawl your way to mediocrity or spread your wings. Unworthy or deserving, man, it really all depends how you define what staring back at you is, where it all begins. It's a matter of perspective, and you're standing at the precipice. There's always a solution regardless of what the method is. Where you go depends on wherever you place the emphasis, but always know the road worth taking is far from effortless. You plot, plan, and scheme, calculate the measurements, overthink the dream, and contemplate the estimates. But even a genius can't anticipate their deficits. Persistence pays. That's how you graduate to excellence. Trials and tribulations will test your resolve. You'll get offered shortcuts if you agree to sell your soul. And there'll be many days where motivation may dissolve, but you can reach infinity with a mind that's made of gold. That's alchemy.
Wow. That's pretty good.
Brilliant.
Really, really good.
Thank you.
That was you just missed out on the hands part. Ding, ding, like that. You've been bouncing with your chair, so you're naturally like quite good at the whole rap. So yeah, no, that's really good. Thank you so much for sharing that. We would like to thank Sukhdeep Singh today for an awesome time. Your vibe, your sharing experience has been so good. Thank you so much. And I'm sure your music is influential to the coming generations as well, because obviously the words that you have, and it's going to help with the stereotype and the racism and the prejudice, and there's loads there. And I had a few more questions to ask, but we've run out of time now. So Benji, did you have any last speeches or comments?
No, I think that was brilliant. I did have some questions in my mind too, but probably we can do another session sometime. But yeah, thank you so much. It was great to learn about the hip hop music and how everything been working in Australia and worldwide, and what kind of challenges we've been facing. So it was brilliant. And I look forward to hearing Alchemy music.
Yeah.
I'll listen that after this. I'll buy it.
Thank you both. Thank you both so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
No, and so where can people find you, follow you, and listen to your music, especially now that you're gonna have Punjabi in there?
Yeah, on Instagram, if you just search LFresh the Lion, also on Facebook, same thing, or Twitter or YouTube. So wherever, take your pick. I'm on all of them.
So you're on all of them as LFresh the Lion.
Yes, that's correct.
I'm pretty sure it's a matter of Googling him, and he's all over. He's
Hip-hop
not hard to find him. Yes.
So thank you all for this show today, and all for being here, and our viewers as well. We'll see you all next week. And if you have any comments or a specific topic that you want to be covered, then please send us an email to hello@thekaurshow.com. And if you want to see any of our previous shows, then please visit our website, thekaurshow.com. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Vaheguru ji ka khalsa.
Vaheguru ji ki fateh.